What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics that we're going to discuss. We're going to have the continuation from last week, and we're going to talk about some new things and bring some different perspectives on these different topics. And hopefully you guys will, ask questions, put questions on the YouTube link, put questions on the Facebook link, and I will respond. Ida will respond, or my great producer, Mark Lee, will respond. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring out Ida B. Is she back, Mark? Yes. Hey.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
Oh, girl, getting it in. I have, like I said, I have one of my friends moving in with me. And you know when you used to living by yourself and now you're getting ready to share your space, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, and I got these Invisalign. And I didn't realize I was a snacker, girl. You know, you got to take some things out every time you eat. So, but I make sure I take my one ready for my glass of wine, though.
Okay. Just because it might tint it, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm so glad I was blessed with straight teeth. And I never had to, really do anything like that except for just going to the dentist for, like normal wear and tear, cleaning and all that good stuff. Never had to wear braces. Teeth are straight. I have like one little crooked tooth in the bottom, but if I don't point it out.
That's the one tooth that bother me.
You can't even tell. Like, it's not even like crooked like that. It's just a little. And I have to point it out in order for you to even notice it, So I am just so blessed and so glad that I've never had to experience, that, because I think I would have just died if I would have came out with ugly teeth.
Well, would you date somebody with a bad mouth?
Say that again?
Would you date somebody that had bad teeth or a bad mouth?
Probably not. I probably couldn't get over it, I mean, I understand it could be fixable or whatever, but holler at me when you fix it. Don't let me see it before. You know what I'm saying? Because I just couldn't get that whole thought out of my head. It would be a detriment. It would be definitely.
But people are subconscious about their mouth. And stuff.
They are. But my thing is, with this day and age, with the Obamacare and affordable health care, anything's possible. You can get things done that you couldn't get done, some time ago. So having, poor whatever or not seeing a doctor is not an excuse anymore, because the healthcare is right there and is basically being handed to you. You just have to complete the paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
We got Black folks. We have phobia about everything. The dentist, the doctor, the preacher, the undertaker. We have issue with all segments. So, okay. While you talk, I'm going to give me a cup of coffee. Oh, I put my coffee away.
I was just about to bring Mark out. Hi, Mark. Come on, join the conversation.
Talking about what y'all would date and wouldn't date and all in that space. And I was just thinking to myself that, people have all kinds of phobias. They want the right teeth, the right style. But, some people also want the quote unquote right car or the right job or the right this or that. So we do have folks that have all these various phobias that they don't want to seem to want to kick. And definitely you should have standards. Standards are a good thing to have and all in that space. But definitely some people can be a little bit superficial on their standards and all in that way. But that's
that's our $28 girl there. She wanted, Dr. D. Dr. A said she wouldn't let somebody take her on a $28 date, or is it Applebee's? She have held to that years. I have
for one, I have food allergies, so you can't really do that with me, because you don't know what may affect me, and just the simplest little thing. Like, I eat strawberries, but if they touch my lips swell. So I can't eat them, and have them touch my lips. You know what I'm saying? So it's just certain things that, I can't put myself in harm's way or whatever. And
cheap restaurants most definitely would expose you to that.
Yeah. So I am definitely not gonna do that. So yeah.
You're not
Okay.
gonna do that at all. No cheap restaurants for you.
Mm.
Now,
I
what about the
mean, you know what? Let me put it to you like this. When I was in college, I ate cheap. But now that I'm a little older and I can afford to eat better and at better places, I just tend to stick to what I like or whatever. So I really don't do that, like talking about.
Now, what about the family restaurants? You know, there's some great family restaurants
What
out there.
family restaurant are you talking about?
Well, you know, you got those, like here in the Carolinas, we've got things like there's one called Dillard's. There was JC's Kitchen. There was one in Henderson. I mean, yeah, a couple in Henderson. There was definitely some in Winston-Salem. So you know, these are the restaurants that are, you know, cousin Mary or somebody may have decided.
Hole in wall. Hole in wall. We call them hole in wall.
I mean, I understand. It depends on the hole in the wall. So if I'm in Louisiana, I would definitely eat at a hole in the wall because I know
Okay.
what type of food that's coming and the caliber of the food. But
Mhm.
if I'm out and about and I'm someplace else where I don't know, the food and what it's all about, no, I typically probably won't. And that's just me. So,
Yes, and the reason I said that today, I was listening to 96.3, and they had a young man. He took a girl on a second date, and he told her he was going to take her to Capitol Grill. But instead, he said, "Hey, I want to cook for you." And she went off. He cooked steak, potatoes, and broccoli. And she said, "You told me you was taking me to Capitol Grill." And so I think it might have been a skit, but they was given a point of, why women are some not, and it's not about you, but why, and he said, "You're gonna take me to Capitol Grill." I got dressed up to go to Capitol Grill, and she was very serious. And people was taking sides about
but no, she's right. I mean, if that was your intent, no, seriously, if
Mhm.
that was your, because I had something similar to happen to me. If that was your intent, you should have been clear. Hey, babe, I changed my mind. Can we have dinner at home? I want to do X, Y, and Z. Don't wait till you get me in the car or you get me wherever we're going and say, oh, I decided to cook for you and I did X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, well, I could have saved my outfit. I didn't have to
Oh,
dress.
that was a skit. So it is
I'm just saying.
that person
Something
exists.
similar.
I,
Now,
you
something
cannot.
similar happened to me because I had someone tell me, "Oh, you need to dress like this because we're gonna do X, Y, and Z." And then when I get to the place, I'm totally not dressed properly for what was going on, and I'm just like, why would you tell me to dress a certain way when you knew what I was walking into or whatever? So needless to say that he and I don't communicate anymore or whatever because it doesn't take much for me. That was a major blow because my thing is if you can't communicate about something like that, then what else will you not communicate on? So I have I'm just not dealing with it.
I go Mark.
No, I was gonna say, but isn't the flip side of that when folks are supposed to dress up and don't know that they're supposed to dress up, so then they wind up wearing casual clothes. And I do know that even in the religious circles, there are some folks that want to get overly concerned about being dressed in that best dress or the best suit and things of those natures. But then there are some churches that are very casual. They are like, come as you are kind of churches, and I think that they actually probably reach more people because they are reaching them where they are at and all in that space.
Well, I
But
mean, if we're gonna use the term "come as" the statement "come as you are," they're not meaning in the dress. They were meaning in the spiritual realm. Come
right,
as you are in the spirit, not come as you are in total dress, because they have taken "come as you are" out of total context, and that's
right.
why you have people coming in things that are inappropriate, streetwear and stuff that you would wear to a club. So when they say "come as you are," you're coming into the spirit realm. You're coming into the holy sanctuary in terms of your spirit and where your spirit is in the world, not in terms of how you're dressed. So I mean, that is misconstrued. But my thing is, it just takes a little communication when it comes to people and events and how they're supposed to dress. Because if you tell me one thing, I'm taking you at your word that we're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. Then you get me there, and then you have me looking crazy. And this actually happened to me. And then you have me looking crazy, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And you didn't even communicate with me. So that was like major to me. So I was just like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm done. So yeah, that was a deal breaker for me because don't do me that. If you want me to be in a certain, attire, tell me. If you want me to look a certain way, let me know. If we're doing X, Y, and Z, tell me. Don't try to spring, no rabbits out the hat and stuff like that, because that doesn't work with me. Because I'm one of them. I'm a Taurus. I'm a die-hard Taurus. We take shit to the grave, and I will. And in order for you to not deal with stuff like that, I won't deal with you because you're not worth it to me.
I got to start bringing my pearls, Mark. I got to, because I have to have something to clutch when she goes there. Oh my God, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just a little communication. Communicate. You know what I'm saying? Pick up the phone. Call me. Be like, hey, I need you to switch up what you were planning to wear. And it's not like I didn't. It's not like I did not communicate with him what I was planning to wear, and stuff like that or whatever. So he was like, oh no, you should wear this, da 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 da, because we're gonna be doing this and stuff like that or whatever. Total setup. So I'm just like, you know what? No, we're not doing that. So yeah. Mm-mm.
Speaking of setups, since we're going there and since we get to some other issues, but I've got another one for y'all that I'm just curious to hear what folks got to think about this. But as you get older, you start running into folks that are not exactly fellow spring chickens, because I don't plan to be a spring chicken at 60 something and all in that space. But you do know that they have kids and in some cases grandkids. So I'm just wondering, who you two ladies, what are your thoughts about the ready-made family and even the ready-made grand family? Because I've seen folks that have gotten into relationships, and most of the times the women are very open about it. Sometimes they don't even bring the kids and or the grandkids, even though I do know some doting grandparents that definitely are very affectionate to their grand children, whatever those are, whether it's a boy or a girl, and they want their significant other involved in that space. But a lot of times they don't want them involved till, as I like to say, they know whether they like that person or not. Because sometimes you got to make a judgment whether you like the person in the first place before you start bringing them into your family dynamics. But what are your thoughts about these couples that we're having? Because it's becoming more rampant, where we're having folks that are not just dating the regular folks, but they're also dating folks that are parents and grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a story. So a while ago, I know, right? A while ago, I was on this dating app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So dude was handsome, very attractive guy. We had some things in common. This was like a long time ago, though. Had some things in common. So we decided that we would start communicating. Communication was great, talking back and forth, yada, yada, yada. So then he was like, I have a son. I was like, okay, so I have one too. I was like, I don't have any biological children, but I have my nephew who I call my son because I raised him. So he was like, all right, cool, or whatever. So then he proceeds to go into one morning. He was like, good morning, how are you? I was like, I'm well, how are you? And he was like, well, I'm having a really bad day. And I'm like, why are you having a bad day? He was like, so my aunt has my son, and I pay $1,700 a month for my son for the aunt. And he was like, can you give me $700? What? Your brain. Yeah, I said, excuse me. I was like, give you $700. He was like, yeah, I'm having a tough time. I need to give $700 because my son needs new clothes. Okay, I understand that your son needs new clothes, but I'm just meeting you. I haven't even met your son. I don't even know if I want to date you or not. You know what I'm saying? Because we're just communicating via text message, phone calls, several conversations, and things like that. So at this point, your son is not my problem. And whatever you have going on between your aunt is not my issue. I have not agreed to sign on for you or your child. So for you inserting me into that situation, I have a problem with that. You didn't even give me a chance to even say no or whatever, or I don't think this is gonna work. You just automatically inserted me into the situation, and you automatically thought that I was gonna send you money. I don't send guys money. So that right there is not going to happen. So, the whole including me in the family dynamic thing or whatever, I get that you want to do that, but at the same time, give me some time to get acclimated to you and to acclimated to your child or whatever, because I don't even know if this is what I want. You know what I'm saying? So for you to be like all inclusive of, just automatically putting me in that situation, I don't think that's fair to me. And I don't think that's fair to the other person. So
Oh well, let me bite off of that apple a little more. I
Okay.
happen to be dating a guy. He has a small child, and when I started dating him, people are like, well, when you gonna meet his daughter? When you gonna? I said, well, I probably might never meet the daughter because I don't know what I'm gonna do with the father. It makes no. I said, children get
Right.
easily attached, and I said, my mother did it well before she married my stepfather. I never had what you call that uncle that came around. When you were small enough, you could make a connection, and so he and I have been dating on and off on uh, almost 3.5 years. I
Mhm.
met his daughter probably at the 2 year mark because
Mhm.
I still wasn't. I said, children, and because what I wanted to see how the co-parenting went.
Right.
Is
Mhm.
this the mother of your child or the baby mama? She was still the baby mama, and I said to him, "Wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that." And at this stage of life, I even had to take in consideration: do I want to deal with somebody and their children and grandchildren? I've seen some people that it just don't go well. And and I can understand people say, oh, we're a package deal. And anybody, when you meet somebody, you say, oh yeah. But then I said to him, I can tell you have had people around your older daughters because they're grown. And I said, want me to tell you how? Because they're very enthused in meeting me.
Mhm.
I'm just somebody that, and I said to him, a lesson learned: until you know you're going to be with this person, they shouldn't even know the person exists. And I used to tell them, just tell them I'm your friend from Virginia. I don't really need, and and the mother and stuff. I said, well, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, when you're dating people, that should be the period, and nobody really knows. Oh, I'm going out with somebody. But I know that in the Black community, we are very quick to end up.
Mhm.
Once you get past the third date, we want to have everybody around. And so he didn't leave my family for 2.5 years. They used to call him Mr. West Virginia because they never seen him. And I never brought him around because I wasn't sure, because I had learned in my youth, now you being known, and then also you get attached to these families.
You get
Right.
attached,
You
and
know.
sometimes you got to be careful with that attachment. There is
You
a
do.
person that I've had off and on relationships with for a period of time, but there's a period of time because I was still trying to figure out if I liked them, and as it turned out, they wound up not being misright and everything. But there are tons of my family members that never saw or dealt with this person. Of
Mhm.
course, it was a long distance relationship, but they were not in the circle of my friend circle because I was still trying to make that judgment as to whether it was going to
Mhm.
be a relationship worth having and all in that space. And that, like I said, they didn't even put them in that situation, but that was my choice and my prerogative and everything. But that being said, how do y'all feel, you two ladies? And then, if it's okay with Tiwanna, we might switch to some other issues other than this lovely socialization and dating stuff. But how do you two ladies feel about um, folks that are together but are in separate abodes? I know that you have both, well, either you've got a house guest, I think it's a female house guest, but you
Mhm.
definitely have both mentioned having house guests. And I do know that you can have those house guests and they can be interesting company, they can be great company, but then there are times that you might want your house and he might want his house. So I was just wondering, how do you ladies feel about that? Because I mean, my dad has been with his long time lady for over 20 years now, and they are quite happy in their separate houses, but they are also one of the most loving couples when you see them together.
I
Mhm.
mean, honestly, it just depends on the people. I can't pass judgment on anyone in that situation. I mean, I'm a loner, so I do like being alone sometimes, or whatever. So it just depends on the people and what the expectations are out of their relationships. So I mean, I let people know off the break. Look, sometimes I need some alone time. It has nothing to do with you. It's just me because I tell people all the time. I grew up as an only child, even though I'm not an only child, but I'm my parents' only child, although I have siblings on both sides, but I grew up like an only child. So just certain times I just like being by myself. I just like doing nothing by myself. So I need that time alone. And it has, like I said, it has nothing to do with the other person. It's just
Mhm.
that's just me. So once you have those clear expectations of, what you want and what you expect, I think, the other person should be willing to, either compromise or bend and give you what you want. But, I'm so stubborn. If you don't want, you can kick rocks. I mean, y'all
I
come
understand. No, I understand that. Like
whatever. So
No, I
Well, I've
definitely.
been on both sides of that. My
mhm,
sister and her friend have been together 22 years. They live 5 miles down the street. And I remember in the beginning stages of dating people and being in a relationship, they're like, well, when y'all getting married or moving in together? And my sister said something. She said she never wanted to get married again. And they got engaged. And after a while, I noticed people stopped asking. And I think, well, and I've been single all my life. I've been engaged a couple of times. I had never shacked. You know, black people, we call it shacking.
Yeah.
mhm,
And so I wanted to see what that experience was like before I married a person. And man, was I glad, because you know how they would tell you you don't know a person until you live with them,
mhm.
because otherwise you're constantly in a perpetual honeymoon phase, because this person could be getting on your nerves, and then you say, well, you know, they leaving in 3 days. I could put up with this. They gonna be gone soon. And so um I they said this is the generation that won't get married because they have seen their parents and grandparents live a lie, and so they're more apt to shack. But now the states are getting involved in making it common law marriage, because they are living together. Have I been a fan? I have lived by myself so long, other than that stint of living with someone. It is awkward to me, and you know, I never thought I would like it, but I sort of like me visiting that person visiting me, and then you go home and I go back to my house.
Yeah. I mean, because when you've done things alone for such a long time, it's kind of hard to, like, I guess, what is it, like, bring somebody into your space and, deal with you in your space. A short period of time is okay, but it takes a lot to deal with somebody in your space when you're accustomed to doing things the way that you want things done, when you're accustomed to having your cup sit right here, or your fork right there, or you use your favorite plate, and things. And I'm petty like
Mhm.
that. I'm like, don't touch my stuff.
Now,
So,
how are you going to do, both of you, if God forbid you were to get sick or have some serious ailments that would
but I'm just
cause you
saying,
to?
why would he have a need to, eat out of a pink plate in a pink bowl, or pink forks and things like that? There's no need for you to eat out of a pink plate in a pink bowl, pink forks, and my cup
Oh,
is pink, and stuff like that. So it's no need. So you already know that's like my little personal, niche or whatever. So it's no need. I mean, if he had a personal little thing or whatever, I wouldn't touch it. I would respect it.
No,
So
that makes a lot of sense. You got to respect people's needs and their desires and things. Now, I will say that one of the most touching things that I saw, and I took a minute to get adjusted to it and all in that space, but I remember this was maybe 10, 15 years ago, a young lady that I was dating actually had diabetes. You have to have
oh,
the whole treatment and all that. And the first thing that they had me learn when we were together, and it was a brief relationship, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years or something like that. They had us learn and about the whole nature of how to operate those needles. So, like I said, I'm not a needle person, but that is something that I had to learn very quickly.
hmm okay, so we lost Mark for a second, but I want to jump right into trans women. So the big talk around trans women is that natural women, natural born women who are born female, has a problem with trans women, saying that the trans women are saying, well, actually, vice versa, both have problems with each other. The trans women are saying that they're prettier than natural women, and that men actually want trans women over having natural women. And I'm just like, nobody is in competition with trans women. Men, women, indifferent, whatever, you like what you like. But at the same time, trans women cannot compare themselves to a natural born woman, because you would never ever experience any of the things that a natural born woman will experience. You would never have a period. You would never go through cramps. You would never have a child. You would never have those days where you're like, I can't get out of bed because my body won't allow me to get out of bed. So yeah, so you might, on certain days and certain times of the year or whatever, you might appear to be prettier than a natural born woman. But again, you don't have to deal with, things that natural born women are dealing with. And this is no shade to trans women. This
No,
is
I
just
get.
truth, and this is just putting it out there, being a realist. And I have some friends who are in within the gay
But
community.
how much do
I
we
have
need to pay attention to what people?
a brother. But I'm just saying that I've heard this on different social media platforms that trans women are saying that predominantly black women have a problem with them and saying that they're prettier than natural women, and they don't like the term women using natural woman. But that is what it is. We are natural women. Remember, you were born male, and you decided to go into a role in a place where you said that you wanted to be female. So you're not a natural woman. You may identify as woman, but that does not mean that you're a natural woman, because at the end of the day, if they swab me for DNA and they swab you for DNA, my DNA is going to say female, your DNA is going to say male. And so, they have to understand, even though that they identify as women, they still would not go through the things that a natural born woman will go through. And that's things like, let's just say endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome. They won't go through any of that. You don't have to go to the OBGYN and get polyps removed. You don't have to go to the OBGYN and get fibroids removed. So there's no comparison. There's no apples to oranges. You cannot compare yourself to a natural born woman and say that you're prettier because you come out the house looking like $1,000,000 every day. Yeah, do I want to come out the house looking like $1,000,000 every day? I do. But when I'm on my cycle, I can't. I just don't. It's just no possible way. I'm trying to make sure I don't bleed through my clothes when I come out the house. So how can I look? So how can I look like $1,000,000 when I got on granny panties, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't have to come back home to change my clothes because my cycle is so freaking heavy, and I'm bleeding everywhere. So it's just certain things that you just can't compare when it comes to natural born women and with trans women. And no, I'm not hating. I think some of y'all are beautiful creatures. I think that you guys are amazing in your look. Now some of y'all can go back to the drawing board, but a lot of y'all, I do think that you're beautiful. But I just feel like the competition has to stop. What if a man wants you, he wants you. If he wants a woman, he wants a woman. You cannot control what a person wants or what they desire, by saying, speaking down on one group of women to another. It just doesn't work like that.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I guess the question, and it's not so much a question, is how much do the politicians need to get out of this whole thing? Because I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you that natural women are the better looking ones. I have not really seen a trans really yet that I saw that was not blowing my mind or anything. But then again, I've not been trying to have any of them blow my mind in that sense and everything, because I actually like natural born women and all in that way. But I also do believe people have a right to different sorts of uh, laws that support them and are benefiting them. And I'm not sure how I feel about a whole separate athletic competition, because there are some that are arguing that the trans have a better advantage in the
They
competition.
do.
And that's what, but I'm saying that we need to ban them, because apparently transgender athletes whose biological sex was assigned at birth as male would be barred from competing on girls and women's sports teams at federally supported schools and colleges under legislation that was pushed through Thursday by guess who? Those lovely Republicans. The Republicans are at that whole division thing and all in that space. And I know here in North Carolina, they just recently approved a ban on transgender athletes, I think across the board. And then Biden has got a proposal that would bar schools from enacting outright bans on trans athletes. So are we going to ban all of these folks in that space?
Well, I don't think they should be banned. I think we should create categories. If it's a female that's trans as a male, I think she should go into her own trans male category. If it's a male that's trans as a female, he should go into his own trans category, because at the end of the day, men are naturally stronger and faster than natural born women. And the same vice versa with men. Men are naturally stronger. So I just think that they need to incorporate those two categories to have them compete in their own categories to compete against people who are just like them. Because if you take a woman who's trans as a man, there's no possible way that she can compete with that man, because naturally the man is stronger than her. If you take a male who's trans as a female, the women cannot compete against him or against her, because she's trans and she's a female, because naturally you are stronger, and your DNA says that you're stronger. So I mean, in all fairness, I don't think that they should be banned. I think that we should add two additional categories to the competition and let them compete amongst themselves. I think that's the fairest way to do it. I mean, even I was listening to some other, influencers, and they were talking about, with the restroom. My problem and my concern with the restroom is somebody pretending to be trans or pretending to be a cisgender or whatever they want to call it, and going in and molesting little boys, going in and molesting little girls. That's my problem. I don't have a problem with, trans women going into the restroom. Hell, when I have to go, I done been into the men's restroom and I didn't use the men's restroom or whatever. So, but my issue is, like, one of the trans women who was on that show was saying, what if you have a pedophile who's pretending to be that way, and they go in and they do something to the little children, rape a little boy, rape a little girl, and that's my concern as well. So I just think that everybody just needs to have their own category of restrooms and things like that or whatever, and just call it a day. Put it on a playing field and just call it a day. Level it out.
There's no guarantee that the attack is not going to come from folks of the same gender, and that those.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, you have, sex offenders are very crafty. And what I'm saying is, if you have a sex offender who's pretending to be a trans woman or who's pretending to be a trans man, and they're allowed to go into these restrooms with these little children, because how many times do you send your child to the restroom, or you go into the restroom with your child, your little niece or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes parents send their children to the restroom alone. And it was documented, and I read an article where the little girl went into the restroom at a church, and the man raped her inside of the restroom at the church. So I'm just saying, how can we protect children from those predators who are pretending to be trans, or who are pretending to be cisgender, or who are pretending to do these things? I'm not saying that transgender women are going to do that, because 9 times out of 10 they're not. It's
But
the
I mean,
people who are pretending to be
Dr.
that.
Anthony, how are you going to protect them against the church? Because the church has got a lot of folks that are doing all kinds of actions. There just was another incident recently.
Well, I'm just saying.
Several people were called out.
People need to, in those instances, people need to take their children to the restroom. That's what I'm just saying. People need to take their children to the restroom. But I'm just speaking, we're speaking holistically in terms of, public forum. And if we're going to, I just feel like if we're going to be fair, everybody just needs to have their own category. Because once you look at it, even a transgender man, let's take Caitlyn Jenner, for example. When they put him on the front of the Sports Illustrated and said he was the best woman. You know what I'm saying? He's not a woman. He still has his penis. He still sleeps with women, so you're cosplaying a woman, and things like that. I'm talking about people who are cosplaying to be, those things, and who are actual pedophiles. And I'm not calling him a pedophile. I'm just saying those people who are pretending, because you have a lot of people who pretend that they're those things to get access to those children. That's all I'm saying.
And you got people that cosplay so they can get access to kids.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. In order to protect, little boys and little girls from, those people, you know what I'm saying? Those predators. I just think that we still have, the restrooms with the male, the female, trans female, trans male. Call it a day. Everybody.
No, I hear what you're saying and everything, even though personally, and this is just me having a little fun with both Dr. Anthony and Ida. I personally think that Dr. Anthony would make a great Wonder Woman, and I have no doubt that Ida would make a great Harlan Quinn. So we're waiting for that to happen anytime soon, because I think that y'all would be amazing in both of those costumes and all in that space. I do have a question that involves sports again, if that's okay with you two ladies and everything, because I'm wondering, and I know it's been this way for a while, but every time I turn around, it looks like the NBA has become WWF. So it seems like there's a lot of wrestling and other activities that are going on in sports. And sometimes they're speaking of men, they are kicking at each other's private parts and all in that space and trying to intimidate each other. And it's not just the predominantly African-American sport. I think that there's been some significant high stakes that have happened in hockey and everything. So are we seeing more aggression that is coming out because of the pandemic, or maybe just folks are pissed at life? But what's going on here? Because I'm seeing a little bit more physicality than I have seen maybe in the past. But I was wondering you two ladies' thoughts, or maybe I'm just misreading things.
I mean, I don't think anything happened because of the pandemic or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just a cop out that people are saying, because they're saying it across the educational realm as well. The children can't read because of the pandemic. No, they couldn't read before the pandemic. Y'all just noticing it because of the pandemic. I think that the sports arena, they were already aggressive, and it's just being, more
Hmm.
so noticed now, because I've seen, people go at each other and, stuff like that or whatever, prior to the pandemic. And I just think that, we're just noticing things now because we had an opportunity to sit at home for like a year and a half, 2 years. And so we didn't have nothing else better to do except for watch sports and, what was going on. And we're noticing things that we probably wouldn't notice before. So I think it was already there, pre-pandemic. I don't think the pandemic had anything to do with their aggression. It was already there. And stuff like that. Ida, what you think? And I'm going to go into the education after you give us your spin.
Well, I never wholly agree with anything she says. That's why I'm on the show with her.
I'm hurt.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
know.
God.
Let me dip my finger in the trans. I think the thing about the trans, when I think of a man dating a trans woman, I think he's gay. I look at those relationships in a very black and white way. When I get into, I think the thing that is troubling to me about the trans community or that community, at the end of the day, you got certain biological factors that are not going to be changed. But I think the thing that makes me uncomfortable with the Republicans or any politician, they always equate the trans or the alphabet people. Excuse me, I say that because I can't get all the alphabets together. Um, of someone being a child molester, like in the church, they always talk about homosexuality, but they don't talk about adultery. They don't talk about incest. They don't talk about fornication. So I think the thing about what makes the LGBTQ, I think another letter was added because one of my girlfriend was telling me recently, and um,
You?
they're willing to be a target, and by them being a target, they are making they always, I think you and I talked about it one day, Dr. A.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking the civil right playlist and gaining grounds. So when we have these conversations, I think as a straight woman from the South and so I think what we're to the disadvantage. We don't know how to leverage these conversations. So what if we go in one direction, we look like a bigot. We go in another direction, we look like a homophobic. When we get into sports and all of that, like you said, you got genetic that I just seen something. I think they had the track and field, and they had this African girl that kept winning, and they said she had a little more testosterone, and then they had this man that he won, and he was trans. So I think that part is very clear. It's unfair that someone says, I'm now this, and therefore I should be able to compete with someone that was naturally born like that. Is going to set it up unfairly. And I think the government still don't know. The thing about the government, the churches, and people that have authority, they have mangled and misused these people so much. So when now, I remember I worked at American Express, and one of the VPs, he was gay, and he wanted to have and he had begun to say, hey, whatever sexuality, you can use the bathroom. People was frightened. People was holding their pee until they went home, and then they created a family bathroom where anybody can go in, because like you said, we do have to make room. We got to make some room. I think the education part, like you said, I think that's a straightforward. Even thinking about the sports, I think that's very straightforward. But I hate that the Republicans are using this playlist, and what the no not the LGBT community is using the civil rights playlist to gain access to every organization, because when it goes into a court setting, they're going to win. You remember a couple of years ago when that young lady didn't want to bake a cake for a gay couple, and they sued and they put her out of business. So I think for the everyday citizen, like you said, when you're getting into the conversation where a natural born woman is jealous, or we don't have the men are going after, like I said, when you think of before transgender became very popular, you had cross dresser, you had transvestite, you had drag queens. So they have always had a lane, but now they're beginning to infiltrate mainstream media. And so now we really, and RuPaul played a very eloquent role of introducing us. But I think introducing that community to, and I think now because everything is, I think this is, to me, because we go from one extreme to the next. America, the government, they almost have had these people locked away, this sector of people. So now they are gaining grounds, they're taking the hinge off. So I think, like you said, we have to find some middle platform or media, otherwise it's going to get ridiculous. So like you said, you get into a point, anything you say now will be dissected and taken out of context. So you remember back in the day when a white person did something to a black person, and they say, I'm not racist because I have a black friend. Or if I said something about the gay community, I have the preferences with, I have gay friends. Why should I have to do that? Why can't I just have a succinct opinion about something without bashing? And I like how, because I like how you eloquently explain the logics of in the sports industry. And even like you said, we were able to get the numbers again. You got very few people that are going to go and pretend to be cross dresser to mess
Access
with
to
children.
children.
I don't want our page to be messed up. But we had a case in Baltimore where a young man pretended to be transgender, and he got 3 correctional officers pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to take him out. And so you always, now do I think you're going to always have some people that are just a manipulative person? They're gonna leverage that the best way they can. Absolutely. And that's sad. I think, like I said, and like you said with COVID, I remember saying to one of my friends who's in the mental health environment, and she said, I worked so hard in my life. I haven't worked so hard in 3 years in my whole 20 years. And so I said, are more people having mental health issues? She said, no, COVID just allowed people probably to be honest and open. And I like how you said, no, COVID didn't create this. These balance and these issues, COVID didn't make January 6th or Trump. These people already had these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what we see now, when you really watch people, eventually, Maya Angelou, one of my favorite poets, she said, when a person show you who they are, but you better believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of time we are in shock that we have a image of a person that they're really not. They talk about our reputation is really what we think people think of us, but our character is really who we are. I always look, when I see people, I don't look at them. I look how their family and friends respond to. How you be in a crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the family not showing up, not being supportive sometimes, and you wonder, well, what is the real story here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Black people constantly take things from our playbook of life. You can take something like we talk our culture, our hair, our makeup. We can take anything from the Black culture and monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we don't allow the Black culture to monetize it. So, like you said, we have in this narrative that actor, and we constantly see a contrast between the Black and white community. And I think in the Black community, I feel sometimes a little discouraged because I see some Black people don't want to participate in the fight. They don't really care what's going on. They're more concerned about Netflix and chilling, or they're concerned. And so you and I have this. People say, "Why you come on here?" I said, "Because this is a good dialogue. It's a good dialogue because it needs to be had. These are difficult conversations that need to become very natural and ongoing, because eventually." You are going to be your brother's keeper at some point in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get to the point that, I would say, if something go wrong, Dr. A is a person you call. I would not want to say, oh, I don't know who I can call. Because what I like about what you do, you're very transparent, too transparent sometimes, very vocal, too vocal sometimes. But a person like you and your platform, you always know where they stand. I have seen some people on Twitter and different stuff, they'll back down from statements that they made because really So is the statement you made years ago you, or the statement you making now? And really, a lot of time it comes down, you and I talk about, is it come down to money and
Mhm.
brands and endorsement. Like we were talking about Don Lemon. Don Lemon was really fired. You know, Tucker Carlson was fired because of that lawsuit with Dominion. That was
Mhm.
one of the agreement that they had to let him go because it was a settlement. And he was the puppet master of pushing that narrative about January 6th. Now I like
Mhm.
how they're coming for Sidney Powell and they're coming for other, but and so I give you an example. This is the how we think about people. Tucker, this is how I heard on CNN. Alexa said to me, um, Tucker Carlson and Fox News have went their own separate way. Then they come back and say Don Lemon was fired. You see, even how we explain.
Mhm.
Now, Don did say he went on Twitter and said he was fired.
Mhm.
But well, you see, we always have a different way of dealing with black and white people.
Of course.
He was given a package to go with. Don, they saying got they because he said something about some white woman and how she aged, and now Don is fired. Don is out.
Well, it's no
And then
secret
there's
that they age like banana peels. I mean, so get
mm-hmm.
out your feelings. It's no secret.
He said what? I didn't hear
I
that.
said it's no secret that they age like banana peels, and that's one of the things that they hate about black women is
Mm-hmm.
that we age gracefully and we age.
Mm-hmm.
Our beauty is timeless, it's limitless, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to go through and do all these things. So it's no secret that they don't age like us, and
But
we know that they
mhm.
hate us for that.
But Don was getting too powerful. You got
Hmm.
two of the most powerful commentary or journalists right now in America that was both let go. Don, they said CNE came. Now they came back and they said, no, we offered Don to have a conversation. He refused. Tucker was giving some go by, get back, get
Hmm.
leave money. I'm gonna give you some money, leave. Now, Don is going to have to get a lawyer. They're going to have to give him some hush money. They're going to eventually say, okay, and so, like you said, when you have these discussions, they're very sad, because Don Lemon act like a black man today. Don, he said, they
Hey,
fired me. He came on Twitter and said, they fired me. The white man went on, took his money and ain't said nothing. Now, like I said, and so Don was reminded today that he was a black man still in America
Hmm.
despite all his accolades and all the money he had made and all the commentary. And he made one statement about a white colleague and now he's gone. And so I tell people, all of us have a situation now, like when we were reminded that you still are black, boo. You at this table, you in this old, and so they have tolerated Don until he offended one of them, because they're saying Don made a comment about somebody named Haley or whoever I was trying to get smart up, and now he's gone. Now we know why Tucker is gone. Tucker made a $1.8 billion lie. So we know, but to say this man 17 years and they wanted him to go through diversity training and all of that, and is it unfair? Yes, it should. So that's
I'm
my
with Don. I
story.
wouldn't have went through diversity training either. I said what I said. She aged like banana peels. She looked ugly. I said what I said. That's my opinion. You can't stop me from my opinion.
no,
Period.
you
You
get,
know what I'm saying?
and
So
they shouldn't stop you from your opinion.
Help me,
But
Mark.
I had
Help
a
me,
question for
Mark.
you. You kind of brought it up. Do you think that there are a lot of people that are afraid to speak their mind? Because I'll speak my mind. You'll definitely speak your mind, and definitely Dr.
I
Anthony
mean,
will
I
speak
think
her mind. But
I
there are a
think
lot of
people
folks
are
that
afraid to
are very.
speak their mind, but like I said what I said. At the end of the day, I was born black. I'm a die black. I grew up black, and I'm living black. So I'm a black woman. I'm a black female. So I'm down for the black cause. And whatever hurts your feelings, that's you. That hurts your feelings. You can't knock me for my opinion and what I think about you, because that's what I think about you. And if your skin aged like banana peels, then it aged like banana peels. I mean, I was just having a conversation the other day, and I was telling somebody I'll be 49 in 2 weeks, and they almost hit the freaking floor. They was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my God, you'll be 49? Like, you don't look it." Yeah, I'll be 49 in 2 weeks or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But black women age gracefully, and I take care of myself and take care of my skin, and so I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go out there and do Botox and all that other stuff. The only thing I put in my face is witch hazel every morning. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a natural, it's an astringent or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been using that since the beginning of time. But we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go out and do all those microblading and micro needling and whatever you want to call it. We don't have
Botox.
to do, yeah, Botox. We don't have to do that stuff because our skin naturally has elasticity, and our skin is naturally, I would say ageless. Well, some of our skin is natural ages. I don't know about
Black don't crack, but it will swell the hell up.
yeah, but that's just the thing or whatever. But
Mhm.
Don has been since they brought those new white women onto CNN. He has been having problem after problem after problem,
Mhm.
after with her or whatever. So my thing is to the black folks, stop watching CNN. Let's boycott. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, if they're allowed to say whatever, he should be allowed to say whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because basically, what I get was he was calling her ugly. You aged and you ugly. So you got offended that he called you ugly. That's his
Mhm.
opinion of you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So apparently you must think you ugly because it bothered you to the fact that you had to go to HR or whatever. So yeah, it is what it is. You know?
But see, I think at this, devil advocate, I think at this stage of the game, Don knows better. Don knows he
He's
knows
gonna be
that
fine.
industry. He knows that audience. And do I think he sort of got a little away from himself? I love the biblical scripture. Too much is given, much is required. See,
Mhm.
you don't have anything to lose when you have 1,000 followers. You start losing. You're a threat when that K turns to an M, and then it gets a double digit. Don, like I said, do I think I think the thing when you and I talk about, you cannot allow yourself to get comfortable in certain environments with people.
Mhm.
That's just real. So every day, and so he said he was stunned, he was shocked. He said the management didn't even come to. And so you begin to, think about, you are in the industry where you're very professional, you somewhat knows how the everything goes. But one day, what people fail to realize, you still work at the pleasure of your employer. They make you sign these conducts,
Mhm.
oral code, and all this paper is giving them permission one day to get rid of you. They're just going to find something in the small print to say you have offended someone.
Mhm.
And I have been in cases at work, and things have happened. And like you said, it's a subtle. I know this is because you're black. And like you always say, we need to begin to find our own network. We need to do our own thing. We
Mhm.
to be constantly dependent on another. um I wanted to send you. I don't think I could find the video. Did I send you that video last week about the young black lady, and she was talking about her love affair with America, how America does her wrong, how throws her away? I think I sent that to you. And
Mhm.
she was trying to do what I guess tongue in cheek, but she made a very powerful statement. We are wanting some people, or part of America, that don't want us, whether it's on TV, in the office, or in certain industry, and it comes at a price. So yeah, what
Right.
else you have for us, baby girl?
So, just to recap on the trans thing or whatever. Like I said, I think that they need to just have their own separate categories. It's not that black women or women are hating on trans, because we could care less, honestly. Whatever you do is what you do. Who you like is who you like. Who wants you, and that's just what it is. Because I'm not nowhere in competition. Because actually, you're not a competition for me or whatever. There is no competition. The only person that I compete with is myself, and I don't even compete with other women. So
Mhm.
when I look in the mirror, that's the bitch I'm competing with. The one that's staring back at me, not somebody that's on social media, not somebody that's out in the world. Because I don't compete with y'all. Because I don't look at y'all as competition. Because at the end of the day, I have to feel that you're competition, and you're not. So, for them to say that we're in competition with them, I'm never in competition with you, because I know who I am as a person, and I know what I bring to the table or whatever. But that's needless here to say, neither here or there. But you still
But
need
the
to
black, but the
have
black woman is
separate categories.
always under attack. We are
Yeah,
the most
We're
easiest.
always
We
always
are the
always
easiest
under attack.
target.
No doubt about that. But Dr. Anthony, I do have
yes.
to teach you about something, because I'm going
Go
like,
ahead.
nobody's gonna believe that you're actually almost 50 years old. They're gonna be like, she's lying. She's got to be at least 30 or 40, because you don't have that energy and everything. So they're gonna be like, she can't be 50, because I know
Check
I
the
still
birth
got.
certificate, baby. Check the birth certificate. I'm seasoned over here. So
Yeah.
No, no doubt.
real
But
seasoned.
I did have one other quick question that brings
Yeah.
up the black community and everything. But I am of the opinion, I would love to hear you what y'all start talking. Maybe we'll talk about it more next week. But you do know that I think it was this past weekend or recently, there was a big riot that happened in the Chicago, and they were basically looked like they were trying to take over a park because there was not a lot of activities for those youngsters to do in
Mm-hmm.
that space.
Uh-huh.
and everything. But a lot of people are trying to paint this as if it was a bunch of hoodlums and a bunch of criminal activity. And it is my opinion, having lived in Milwaukee, which isn't that far from Chicago, and going to school there back in the early 80s, that this is actually something of them being frustrated because they didn't have a place to go and all in that space. So, of course, there might be some hoodlum elements within that crowd, but I don't think that was the purpose because it was created on social media. They were going to get together and try to basically have a gathering at that public park and all in that space. And I think it just got out of hand. I've seen that happen even here in North Carolina with Apple Chill and some other festivals, and even our UNC when they do their big Halloween celebration, they can get out of hand. But when it's out of hand and it's our folks, then they automatically want to make it a wrong statement, and it's a bunch of hoodlums getting out of control and all in that space. So I'm not saying that there was not that element there, but I don't think that that was the majority of what was happening. What are y'all's thoughts?
I mean, but you got to understand, Mark, anytime that we gather, when it's more than 3, 4, 5 of us, we're looked at as a gang and we're looked at as problems and things like that or whatever. But, them white folks that was over there busting up the Capitol, the insurrectionists and things like that, oh, they were patriots, And I mean, if we look at, the historical fact behind it, this country was built off of, war, fighting and being aggressive and things like that. How do you think we got our freedom from England? They just didn't give it to us. We had to fight for it, And when I say we, I'm just using it in the sense of proper English or whatever, because the black folks wasn't fighting. It was the white folks. You know what I'm saying? So we were fighting for our freedom as a country. And that's how we, gained our freedom from America. And anytime we wanted things done in this country in the past, it has always been a fight. But the second that black people step out and, put up a protest, we can't have a large protest where, where we're perceived aggressive and things like that or whatever, because, they're hoodlums, they're thugs, they're this, they're that. But just, when, UConn, what was it? UConn won the national championship. Didn't they tear up buildings? Didn't they bust out windows to businesses? Didn't they tear down light poles and things like that? Now these are white people. You know what I'm saying? But not one time did they get on the media and say, "Oh, these are thugs, these are this and these are that." But you let one black person do something, the whole black community is considered a thug. The whole black community is considered this. The whole black community is considered that. So my thing is to the white women, y'all raising these terrorists. When black women was raising your children, they came out straight. But when y'all got the rails of the hem and came back and started raising your own children, you started producing terrorist killers, serial killers, murderers, and sex offenders. You know what I'm saying? So nobody is talking about that. We can look at the whole situation with the black woman when her child fell into the zoo with the orangutan. Yeah, with the gorilla, with the orangutan. Oh, well, they going in her background and things like that. But y'all ain't going to the background when the child got ate up by the alligator. Y'all ain't going to that parent background. But because y'all being white and the sign said, "Look, watch out for alligators." Oh, I'm gonna do it anyway. Then you came back without your child. You came back childless. But nobody, dug into your background and said anything. So it's always a double standard when it comes to black, white, and that's why I tell people it's always about race. It is never about the gray area or in between, because there is no gray area. It's always about race. It's always about black and white. We can go so far as to take Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in the national championship game. They did the Tony Yayo. She did the Tony Yayo. It was cool. She was swag. She had swag. Angel Reese did the Tony Yayo. Pointed to her ring. Oh, she was classless. She was ghetto. She was hood. You know what I'm saying? So same exact behaviors. 2 different women. One white, one black. One had swag. One was hood. So I mean, it's always about.
It's always that way. But and I actually alluded to it earlier. But I also have noticed that the coverage of the gun shootings is different. The brother goes and knocks on the wrong door, and we hear one narrative, and he is shot. But then we also had the white cheerleaders, or maybe they were Hispanic, that decided to go to the wrong car, and then they were shot and everything. And then we've also had the birthday party, which is mostly us and everything, and that didn't get as much coverage from what I can tell and everything, even though that was a shooting as well. It did get some, but I think the other 2 incidences got a little bit more. That's just my opinion. But what is y'all's take on that? Because it does seem like the aspect of the racial elements, what's going on, even in some of the gun conversation, isn't talked about as much either.
Well, I think when you talk about conversation, the first thing coming to my mind is media, and the first thing when it comes to my mind is media is reporters. And when it comes to a reporter, then I get into what school you go to. Then at the end of the day, you got a person with a mic that has their own biases, that have a narrative that must be told. So a lot of the influences that we are seeing is actually really by the media. The media, the Associate Press years ago would do their job. They would come and report the news without a level of biases. So even when they went to the Alabama, the white sheriff tried to really control the media about saying, don't, and don't hold this against and such and stuff. I think I googled the Chicago thing, and I seen one of my YouTube I watched, and he said, "Welcome to Niggerville," and he was showing, and they were showing them wilding out. But when you begin, I watched 3 reporters. So what I went back to what I used to. I just don't take one source. I said one had empathy, one was wretched, and then one told the truth. So, like I said, at the end of the day, just like when we're talking about LSU, and these are young kids that we are putting them not only in a stereotype to be. I used to work at the county jail, and used to work with the juveniles. So when I was go down, I said, "How are my young kings and queens doing? How are my princesses?" And they were shocked because that was not a narrative or name that was called to them. They were used to being called hood and such as, and some of these things are actually coming out of our black mouths. So if we say it, we don't even get offended when we hear our young sons and daughters being talked about like a animal, a caged animal, and vilified. And like you said, that's why, even though I'm going to miss Dunn, bringing it back. Dunn and somewhat Joy Reid and Roland, we do need to continue to put us in a very concentrated area that we can speak the truth. And if the media is going to use us, we have to use the media back, because I used to be in sales, and when I went through training, they say you have to hear something 7 times before it clicked. And if you got white, I remember working for this executive, and the first thing I said to him, have you ever had a black secretary? Have you ever interfaced with a black person other than a team? He was surprised. He said no. I said, well, let's talk about our biases. Okay. I said, what biases do you? I said, now on paper, I'm overqualified for this job. I'm really doing you the favor by letting you hire me. I said, but now we're getting into money. I said, this colleague that just left, my white colleague, is less qualified. I noticed you want to offer her a job and offer her $20,000 more than me because of your bias. I said, I want to see how long it was going to go on. And I said, I could be rude and really report you to HR. But I said, you go where you're comfortable with. I said, that's who you're comfortable with. And I said, even though I've never presented myself less than a educated black woman in this workspace, because I could see y'all not familiar with interfacing with black women, I'm still met with this narrative that I'm mad and I have to, and so it puts a burden on me that I go in a space that I have to compete against these biases. And so it's very unfortunate that, like I said, when we get interviewed, it's gonna be the one to go to. When you see they're gonna find the most wretched, uncouth black person. And even though last week we talked about being crump, we do need the brother keepers. We do need other blacks saying, "Hey, come over here, sis. Let me talk to you. Let's not conduct ourselves like that." Even though our white counterpart, even though Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high. But we do have to protect our young people. You got people out here calling a whole sector ghetto, wretched, but then they're going to take our culture and monetize it. Mm-hmm. They're going to take our culture and monetize. So the media plays a very big part of, I like how when who was the one assassinated, and that we had that thing going on, Doctor Say My Name. We had that series season of Say My Name. And
Yeah.
so I challenge myself not to fall for the narrative, because I did see all these young kids running around. I'm like, what the hell going on? What's going? And it took a little article far away that said they was just frustrated. They want to go out and hang out, and they was taking their phone to generate, and they call it wilding. That's why the police wouldn't arrest them. A couple of people too. And so, like you said, white America is afraid of black people.
No.
They're comfortable being afraid of black people but yet we're the biggest consumer of everything. Black people, when we stop spending money, the world shuts down. But we in the black community don't leverage that properly. So that's my story, maybe because of coffee.
No, we don't leverage it. Get ready to wind down. I did see that earlier today, and I think that definitely Dr. Tiwanna will enjoy this. But Michelle Obama has come out and apparently was talking to Oprah earlier today and admitted that she is the more hot-headed of the couple, the power couple, the Obamas, Michelle and Barack. But she was asked who is more hot-headed within their union, and apparently she says that she is the guilty party. So she says that she is the one that can get a little hot-headed, and that Barack wants to talk rationally, and I'm like, rational? And so maybe not all that rational.
Very.
She says, come to me with sense. I'm angry. Don't come to me with your 3 bullet points. You better get out of here and let me cool down. Listen to the clip below, and there's a clip that maybe will play on another edition of this show. But she's saying, hey, I can get a little bit hot-headed.
And so we need more leaders. We need Dr. Anthony. We need Obama. We need Tabitha Brown. We need to say these people named you got people in our community not only doing it well, doing it exceptionally well. And so I think in the black community, we lean to the entertainers and the athletes, but the everyday people are doing it well. And like I said, I come on here to support my sister. I know she's going to act up every time. Every time.
She gonna do what she's gonna do. We're gonna have
But
these
she's consistent.
conversations. But right now, I think I'm gonna have both of y'all come on over here, because as y'all can tell, I'm at the Hey Diet Center, and we've got the African drummers going. So we're gonna have y'all come on over here and do some African drumming with the drummers, because I think that both of y'all can handle the rhythm and get the rhythm going. Since it is African dance, it is African Dance for Women. That is the class, African Dance for Women. So
nice.
Come over here and get your rhythms along with these other sisters and folks from other cultures as well, because there are some people from other cultures that try to get their rhythm.
My niece said these are not the same niece that did the percolators in the 90s. My niece said
drop down and sweep the floor with it, girl, please.
My God. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of the All Around. So you can check us out every Monday from 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also on social media. Make sure you click like and share. Make sure you hit Ida B up on her webpage. Hi, Joseph. How are you? And make sure you tune in next week for another fabulous show. We have some amazing topics and hopefully a guest. I'm working on it. And with that being said, the clock on the wall says that's all, y'all.
Sounds good. Let's get on out of here.
Bye.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.